Hiya, my name's Charlie and welcome to my channel and welcome to this video. And today's video, as you can tell from the title, is my Women's Prize for Non-Fiction Predictions, which is very exciting. Last year, the Women's Prize, for the very first time, had its own non-fiction prize, which I just loved. Loads of my favourites of the year last year came from that prize. I just found so many wonderful books, and yeah, it just really was a highlight in my reading year last year. And yeah, I just can't wait for this year's prize. So this year's prize is being announced on Wednesday, the 12th of February. Myself and my lovely friend Jem from Jem of Books will be hosting our live show reaction later on in the evening at 8 p.m. over on Jem's channel. I hope lots of you guys can join us for that. Without further ado, I'm going to jump into the 18 books that I'm predicting. I mean, it's incredibly difficult to actually predict because there are so many books that are eligible. I'm just I'm just sort of going off things like my gut feeling from ones I found and ones I'm excited for. Okay, so there's one that I'm going to talk about that was already on my favorite, so that won't be any surprise. It's Raising Hair by Chloe Dalton. I have talked about this one a lot, and the sort of the idea behind this was in 2020 during lockdown. Chloe went out for a walk and discovered a baby leveret, and then obviously took it home, and as the title would suggest, it's about her experiences of raising it. It also talks a lot about environmentalism and about what we can do in our communities to benefit the wildlife in our areas. Yeah, it was just super interesting, and it was like it was in my favourites last year. I just loved it so much. So I definitely want to see that listed, and it has already got quite a lot of buzz at the moment. And yeah, that's one. And the next book I'm going to talk about is The Scapegoat by Lucy Hughes Hallett. This is another one that's getting quite a lot of buzz at the moment. I heard about this from my lovely friend Jen from Jen the Librarian, whose channel I will link in the description. And yeah, this is I'll read you it's historical, obviously. And about it says, I'll read you the hashtags I've got on my zigzag in front of me. It says biography, historical, political and military and European history. From the winner of the Baillie Gifford Prize, an extraordinary story of the meteoric rise and fall of George Villiers, the first Duke of Buckingham. It says that Lucy Hughes Hallett transports us into the courtly world of masks and dancing, exquisite clothes, the art of Rubens and Van Dyck, gender fluidity, same-sex desire, and appallingly rudimentary medicine. So I think I've said that right. So yeah, it just sounds really, really good. And like I said, it's getting quite a bit of buzz at the moment. Lots of people are talking about it. So it's definitely one that I can see being listed. Another one that I predict that could very well be listed was one that was listed for the Neros. The Neros listed a load of non-fiction, a lot of which I was also very excited for. But the one that sort of stood out for me that I think could be listed from it is an African History of Africa by Zainab Badawi. And this, obviously, as it would suggest from the title, it says everyone is originally from Africa, and this book is therefore for everyone. For far too long, Africa's history has been neglected, dominated by Western narratives of slavery and colonialism. Its past has been fragmented, overlooked, and denied its rightful place in our global story. And it says that basically the author guides us through Africa's spectacular history from the origins of humanity through ancient civilizations and medieval empires, with the powerful queens and kings to the miseries of conquest and the elation of independence. I mean, it just sounds so interesting, and 100% I can see that this would be one that the Women's Prize for non-fiction would be interested in, especially like with last year one I read was Shadows at Noon, and it covered obviously like a vast history of Asia, and this is sort of like a similar thing, maybe I'm guessing like with Africa, but I know it's sort of told through the lens of the actual people itself. So yeah, it just sounds so interesting, and definitely one I want to read regardless whether it makes this list or not. So those are sort of more the ones I would say ones you probably more heard about. Now I'm going to go through my list with ones maybe you possibly haven't heard about. The next book that I've therefore chosen is We Will Not Be Saved by Namonte Nenekomi, and this is, as you can see from the title, I'll read you like the blurb again. So the hashtags on Zigzag are conservation of the environment, memoirs, autobiography, green politics, eco-politics, environmentalism, and yeah, it's basically environmental issues in the natural world. So it says here, born into the Waorani tribe of Ecuadoria's Amazon forest, Numonte Nanokomo was taught about plant medicines, foraging, oral storytelling, and shamanism by her elders. By age 14, she left the forest for the first time to study an evangelical missionary group, eventually her ancestors appearing in her dreams, pleading with her to return and embrace her own culture. She listened. So basically, it says 2 decades later, Namonte has emerged as one of the most forceful voices in climate change activism, and it says that she has spearheaded the alliance of indigenous nations across the upper Amazon and led her people to the landmark victory against the big oil, protecting over 500,000 acres of primary rainforest. Her message is as sharp as the spears that her ancestors wielded, honed by her experiences by battling loggers, miners, oil companies, and missionaries. So yeah, it just sounds so interesting. Again, that's what I'm going to say about this, about all of these. And yeah, I cannot wait to read it. Then moving on from that, the next book that I have chosen, The Dopamine Brain by Dr. Anastasia Hrones. And it says it's the hashtags for it are assertiveness, motivation, self-esteem, positive mental attitude, psychological and neuropsychology, and it says coping with advice about addiction and cognitive and behavioral neuroscience. So yeah, it says underneath, it says, do you want to live a life driven by intention and not impulse? Are you curious about neuroscience and by addictive behaviors? Social media, eating and gambling are just some of the things that can trigger a release of dopamine, a neurotransmitter in our brain's reward systems that has huge influence on our brain's habits. So that it says that Dr. Anastasia wants to lift the lid on the dopamine, what it is, how it works inside our brain, and how it drives our daily choices so we can take back control. I mean, yeah, it sounds obviously a little bit more sciencey, but it sounds so interesting. And like I feel like it sort of will fill that sciencey spot on the non-fiction list. So yeah, that is why I have chosen it. Right. Then the next book I have chosen is probably one of the first books I found after the prize was actually listed, and actually possibly it was released whilst we were all dealing with the prize last year. This is called Every Kind of People by Catherine Falk, and it's about the nursing homes and sort of the care system, the health system. The sort of like taglines are a luminous, uplifting, and deeply moving memoir by a care worker told through her funny, heartbreaking, sometimes frustrating, and always eye-opening encounters she had with often overlooked and marginalized people she cares for. So I'm hoping this is actually obviously just giving us that insight into a system that we don't really hear about. Yeah, and so just, yeah, again, another one sounds really interesting and one that I will want to read. Then the next one I have chosen is again slightly different. Another one sort of, I guess, talking about environmentalism again. These are things that have like come up in environment change. It says the next book is The Age of Melt by Lisa Barrell. The cover I just love. It just looks so cool. And it says, so the hashtags are climate change, the earth, natural history, general interest, glaciers and the ice caps, meteorology and climatology. And I forgot to say on screen, as you would have already been seeing, I put the release date for all of these books. So this book is an entertaining pop sci narrative investigating ice patch archaeology and the role of glaciers in the development of human culture. So again, not one that we often hear about, but one that I think could be really interesting, especially given the impacts of it all on our daily lives and things like that. That like we don't really think about the glaciers and things like that, but obviously it does have a huge impact on the whole globe. So yeah, definitely one I want to read, and it just looks something about it. I'm just like, yeah, I just think it sounds really interesting to me. So maybe I'm alone in that, but I really hope this one gets listed. The next book, I believe, is by an author that has previously been listed for the Women's Prize for Fiction. I'm fairly certain, correct me if I'm wrong. And this is Utlin by Jenny Fagan. This is a memoir. And I don't know how many memoirs realistically will get listed, but I love a memoir. That's probably my favourite type of non-fiction, really. So yeah, the hashtags again are memoirs, autobiography, adoption and fostering, advice, issues. It says underneath, like one of the blurby things, it says, the government told a story about me before I was born. Jenny Fagan was the property of the state before birth. She drew her first breath in care, and at age 7, she lived in 14 different care homes and had her name changed multiple times. So yeah, this is her memoir, and through like the broken UK care system. And yeah, I think this could be very, I don't know realistically whether this will get listed because it's very, very personal, but it is talking about, again, the care system, and it's an important subject. So and it's definitely a non-fiction that I wanted to highlight to you guys, and it's definitely one I would want to read. Yeah. It says there's a blurb by Amy Liptrot that says a phenomenal memoir, and I am in awe. That's what she says. So yeah, definitely. So yeah, definitely one I definitely want to add to my list. Anyway. Right, the next one I have chosen, I'm not actually sure whether it's actually eligible because I'm not entirely sure if it's non-fiction. I feel like it must be, but it sort of blurs the lines. You will see as I show you. So it's called Unfortunately, She Was a Nymphomaniac, and this is, the hashtags for it are violence, intolerance, persecution in history, ancient history, true stories of survival and abuse, injustice, human rights, feminism and feminist theory. So some of the like taglines for it are, in the Daily Telegraph has got a quote saying, in her hands, ancient history becomes a vivid avenue approach to burning modern world concern, a powerful and important book. A superb and illuminating history of Imperial Rome's most important women, dispelling the myths and misogyny that have distorted reputations for over 2,000 years. It just seems like it's talking about obviously these historical figures and their lives, and again, it could be very, very brutal, but it just seems it says again underneath, it says writer activism Jane Smith has worked for years to raise awareness of violence against women and girls, bringing the innate misogyny of the police to the public attention. Unfortunately, She Was a Nymphomaniac interprets the bloody, violent stories of 23 women closely associated with Julio Claudian, Empress of Rome. So the next book that I have chosen that I think could be listed is Wages for Housework, The Story and the Movement of an Idea and a Promise by Emily Kalachi. And it says, the blurbs beneath it say, what would women do if their lives had more time? The riveting untold story of the revolutionary campaign to change the way work is valued. So it says that Emily Kalachi has given us a beautifully clear history of the light that feminist Marxists shone on Home Sweet Home, exposing sight of radical exploitation. Through a deft analysis of key figures and ideas, the book shows an extraordinary reach of wages for housework as a devastating critique of global racial capitalism, and containing itself a way of reclaiming the earth. So, yeah, it just sounds so interesting. I guess you could sort of see links. Again, historically, you could kind of see those links to the previous book I mentioned. Yeah, it just sounds really interesting. You can sort of see the books I'm sort of leaning into. The sort of yeah. The next book, again, I've found for you guys is Dear Miss Perkins, a story of Frances Perkins, efforts to aid refugees from Nazi Germany by Rebecca Brenner Graham. And this says, this outstanding, inspiring new narrative of the first women to serve in a president's cabinet reveals the never before story of her saving Jewish refugees from a Nazi regime. So yeah, I'm guessing we're going to hear all about this lady's life. So that is that one. The next book is one, again, that actually a few people, you guys would have heard about, and it's definitely an anticipated release for me because it's by an author whose book I have previously books I have loved. This is Story of a Murder, a gripping historical true crime tale from the best-selling author of The Five, Hallie Rubenhold. Story of a murderer does for the Crippen murder case what The Five did for the crimes committed by Jack the Ripper, because that is what obviously this is. The Five was Hallie Rubenhold's previous book. And yeah, it says, with forensic research and insistent sympathetic writing, it retells the story of the murder of Belle Elmore in January 1910 and places her at the centre of the narrative, because this is what Hallie Rubenhold does. She rewrites women at the centre of her books. So yeah, this is going to be all about, I guess it's going to be a similar kind of, in that similar kind of vein, but you just know that, like I said, the focus will be on the women rather than the person who has committed the crimes, murderer. And yeah, I just can't wait to get to this one. I wonder who's going to narrate the audio book, because yeah, the audio book for this book I really loved last time. Yeah, just can't wait to get to it either which way. Right, now we're back to my zigzag ones. The next one I have chosen is, this is one I saw when I was walking around Waterstones for my birthday last year, and it caught my eye. This is talking about a slightly different topic. It's talking about mental health. It's called Committed by Suzanne Scanlon, and again, it's a memoir. So the hashtags for it are, it says memoirs, biography, coping with mental health issues. So it says so one of the quotes from someone said, a deep, sometimes harrowing book about loss, grief, and the way that literary representations of mental illness shaped Scanlon's experiences in her own life. And someone else said, it's visceral, raw, and tender. The candid and timely memoir is at heart a love letter to the profound and redemptive power of literature. I mean, it just sounds amazing. So yeah, it's another book that I can't wait to get to. The next one, we are going changing topic again, is The Giant of the Skyline by Clover Strout. And as you can see from the cover, this is a very green cover. So we're looking at, it says memoirs, sociology, family and relationships, society and culture, the countryside, country life. Yeah. And the taglines underneath it are, what is it that makes a home? What is a home without roots that ties you to a place? What is a home when a family is split? And it says Clover's eldest children are leaving home for university. Her husband Pete's working in America. The only way for Clover and her younger children to live with him is to leave their rural life near Ancient Ridgeway in Oxfordshire and move to Washington, D.C. Forced to leave their home, she considers these questions. Clover sets out to explore the place where she lives, walk the Ridgeway, understand a little of the history of her landscape, and work out why it's so hard for her to go. So in doing so, it says she paints a beautifully layered portrait of family, community, and belonging in a landscape that has drawn people to it for generation after generation. I mean, it just sounds so good, as do all of these, obviously. And I really hope it gets listed so I can prioritize it. The next one is the Art of Not Eating by Jessica Hamill Acker. I think that's how you pronounce it. And the taglines the hashtags underneath this are biography, cooking, cookery, food, and drink. It says, so I'll read you a little bit of the blurb. It says, the day that Jessica Hamill Acker discovered the ideas of George Chen at the 18th century polymath and London society figure known as Dr. Diet, it sparked an intellectual obsession, a 10-year study of women's appetites and personal unraveling. And it says that the author follows Chen through the pages of medical studies, novels, and historical scandals. She meets ash-eating mystics, wasting society girls, impoverished female fasters, and early feminist philosophers. So yeah, it says blending memoir with his piercing historical insight. The art of not eating will change the way we look at female wants, beauty standards, the nature of rationality, and how we get so tangled up in what we eat. So again, a slightly different topic, but definitely one that I'm so interested to get to. Anyway, the next one is one that's not out yet. It's not out till the 6th of February. Actually, by the time you watch this, it will be, no, by the time the prize is announced, it will be out. So yeah, and this is called Unkind by Victoria Smith. And the hashtags for this are feminism and feminist theory, gender studies, and women and girls. And sort of the blurby bits underneath are erudite, blisteringly smart, and profound, compassionate, a must-read for anyone hungry to understand the origins and dangers of contemporary exhortations to women, hashtag be kind, and to everyone that wants to live a feminist life. And it says, this book is not a criticism of kindness, empathy, compassion, etc. as woke concepts, but a critique of how particular interpretation of kindness functions to condition, exploit, shame, and or silence women and girls. So it just sounds so interesting, and again, it's a very topical subject, and one I cannot wait to get to, again, regardless, hopefully, whether it makes the list or not. Hopefully it does make the long list. Right, then we are going to an author that I have heard of before, and I think she's known for more her fiction, and this is called We Loved It All by Lydia Millett. I'm fairly certain she's known for her fiction. And the hashtags for this are memoirs, conservation and the environment. So it's another naturey one, nature and the natural world. And it says acclaimed novelist Lydia Millett's first work of nonfiction is a genre-defying tour de force that makes an impassioned argument for people to see the emotional and spiritual lives as indefinitely dependent on the lives of non-human beings. Drawing a quarter-century of experience as an advocate for endangered species at the Centre for Biological Diversity, Millett offers an intimate portrait of what she calls the others, the extraordinary animals whom we still share the world, along with those that have already lost. So it just sounds, again, so interesting. So yeah, definitely one, again, that I can't wait to get to. Right. The last one I'm going to finish on is one that I already have purchased, and I really want to actually start. I haven't actually started this, but this is a memoir. I'm not, again, entirely sure whether it will be listed, but I hope it will. And this is one that, again, I have seen cropping up on a few other people's like predictions and things. And this is My Good Bright Wolf, a memoir by Sarah Moss. And again, the hashtags for it are memoirs, autobiography, coping with advice about eating disorders, literature, history and criticism, relationships and families. And it says it's a memoir about thinking, reading and eating and denying your body food, about the relationships that form us and the long tentacles of childhood. So it's Sarah Moss's memoir, and yeah, I will definitely be getting to this because I've already got it on my xigxag, and yeah, I'm very, very excited for it. So those are all my predictions. Let me know what your predictions are in the description. Before I go, I did promise you guys in my last video, some of you guys, if you haven't seen it, go check that video out. And myself and two of my lovely friends, Gemma and Jack, we are releasing some bookmarks with the plod along, which actually will go live on the day of the Women's Prize announcement, so the 12th of February. The Etsy shop will go live. In the last video, I showed you the bookmark that we created in memory of my lovely friend Alice, who we sadly lost last year. But today's video, I wanted to show you Gem's bookmark that we created. And so this one, if you know Gem, it won't be a surprise to you. We've got her classic saying that she says, which is hello, hello. If you know Gem's channel, you know this is what she says. And then we've got, I don't know if you can see, I'm going to try and pull it a bit closer. We've got some salt shakers and some books, because Gem is famously known for her salty book opinions, but she's also known for her brilliant book reviews and her amazingly brilliant just sense of humour and just her wonderful ways. Everyone loves Gem. And yeah, so it's on the shiny side you get the salty books, and then on the back again we've got Plodders Forever, and we've got the FOMO Book Club logo as well as a heart as well. So yeah, again, these will be on sale individually and in sets of 4. You'll see all 4 will be available on the 12th of February, and I will link the Etsy shop I'll do a whole separate video announcing all of that on that day. So yeah, I hope you guys will be interested in buying that along with all the other ones, and I hope you guys are excited for the Women's Prize for Nonfiction as much as I am. Let me know in the comments below all your predictions, Let me know all your thoughts. And yeah, if you haven't checked out my last video showing you the Alice bookmark, go ahead and do so. Just letting you know the actual bookmark itself isn't shown to the end of the video. So if you want to skip ahead most of the video and just zoom in and see what the bookmark is, you're welcome to do so. I don't mind that. Yeah, let me know how you all are. I'm hoping in my next video I will do my Christmas book haul and I will show you Jack's bookmark. And yeah, so it's very, very exciting. I hope you guys are well. Yeah, have a good chat in the comments. Goodbye, take care, and sending you lots of love. Bye.